Hello, guys. Welcome to our first episode of M&W Fiction Speaks. Um, I'm so excited to be here. We are going to start off with Native American land acknowledgements, and I would just like to say that I acknowledge that I am on Piscataway land.
And I'd like to say that I acknowledge that I am on Mahoic land.
All right, cool. Then I am going to read a quick editor's note from a book that we're reading called Octavia's Brood, and I feel like it sums up the premise of the whole podcast, really. All right. Whenever we try to envision a world without war, without violence, without prisons, without capitalism, we are engaging in speculative fiction. All organizing is science fiction. Organizers and activists dedicate their lives to creating and envisioning another world, or many other worlds. So, what better venue for organizers to explore their work than science fiction stories? This is the premise behind the book that you hold in your hands. In the years we have been working on this book, many folks have asked us what science fiction could possibly have to do with social justice organizing. And every time we have responded, everything, everything. We want organizers and movement builders to be able to claim the vast space of possibility, to be birthing visionary stories, using their everyday realities and experiences of changing the world. They can form the foundation for the fantastic, and we hope build a future where the fantastic liberties the mundane. We titled this collection in honor of Black science fiction writer Octavia E. Butler. Butler explored the intersections of identity and imagination, the gray areas of race, class, gender, sexuality, love, militarism, inequality, oppression, resistance, and most important, hope. Her work has taught us so much about the principles of visionary fiction, inspiring us. The title plays on Butler's three novels collection, Lilith's Brood, which is about adaptation as a necessity for survival. Changes will occur that we cannot even begin to imagine, and the next generation will both be utterly familiar and wholly alien to their parents. We believe this is what it means to carry on Butler's legacy of writing visionary fiction. So yeah, it was just a little something something, and I felt really inspired by that of how science fiction is just visionary fiction and organizing, and I really like that.
Yeah, the visionary fiction part was definitely my favorite thing about reading the editor's note. And I feel like Octavia Butler would definitely love the topic that we're going to be talking about today. She would be freaking out about the fact that this is even a TV show. I know she'd be binging this shit and trying to figure out all the theories about it. I love Octavia Butler. She's one of my favorite authors.
And like what I liked is that she said that she doesn't want to be the only black female science fiction writer. And I think that is so important. Like I feel sometimes we put like, oh, like for example, Jordan Peele is the horror guy and we put him on the pedestal and we expect that from him and doing all of that when in reality like you should be encouraging
Yeah, he
all
shouldn't be the only one.
yeah, he shouldn't be the only one. Um, yeah, so let's get into the main topic of today's podcast, which is Lovecraft Country. And first off, when I first saw this announcement, I was just like, my time has come. My time has come. I, for example, I haven't seen a black female lead since Sleepy Hollow, and even then, her co-star was white. And like Sleepy Hollow went down the gutter, unfortunately, because they mistreated the main actress because racism. So it was really nice. It was really nice to watch Lovecraft Country, even though I do feel that it did dip in quality just a little bit. I don't think it's as serious as people are saying. And
Mm-hmm.
I would just like to point out that the expectation for Black media is just significantly higher, especially if they're the first ones to do it. Like if it's not perfect,
Mm-hmm.
then it's just trash, and I
Right.
don't feel like that.
Right. And I feel like when it comes to the quality, I know that so I did not my Lovecraft Country experience is that a whole bunch of people told me that I should watch it, that they think I would really like it. I didn't see the announcement or anything. I was told by other people like, "Hey, you would really like this show. Like I know you would." And I actually didn't start watching it until it ended. Like all 10 episodes were out, and then I started watching it. And I started watching it because it like became a reprieve from everything that was happening because I started watching it around election time when it was just going crazy and we were in Richmond, and white Trump supporters were threatening to lynch Black people if Biden won. And so I voted and then I stayed inside and I binge watched Lovecraft Country. And that was literally my election day, which was like, I think back to that because I was putting together notes for this and I was thinking, what were my initial thoughts when I watched this the first time? And I was like, oh my God, I literally like binge watched this, like trying to protect myself, like so worried to go outside. So then I went back after I watched all 10 episodes and I also listened to the podcast, which was amazing. And so I saw people hating on it, not in real time, but I went back on Twitter and saw people being like, oh, like I saw like a couple complaints. I didn't go through all of the threads of why it progressively got worse. So honestly, I really don't like if you could tell me more about like what people actually said about the different quality because I really don't know what people were saying.
I think, well, I'll speak for myself. One thing that just irked me, well, okay, there are a few things, honestly. There was
I
this,
get it.
so there was the, oh, spoilers, by the way, for Lovecraft
Oh yeah,
Country.
sure. We're gonna be
Yeah,
discussing all
spoilers.
10
We're gonna
episodes,
be
so
talking
spoilers.
about it. Um, when they went back to Tulsa, right? And they were trying to
Mm-hmm.
get the book, the Grimoire, to undo the spell that happened to Dee. And I
Mm-hmm.
was just like, you know, I thought that was a really cool, like going back in time, Hippolyta's new power, exploring that. Cool, cool, cool. It was just the image of seeing Letty
Mm-hmm.
walking
Mm-hmm.
back with the grimoire in her hands because she's like invincible or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and like it's exploding, things are exploding around her, Black people are dying everywhere, and you just have this light-skinned woman walking with she's and Hippolyta is
Mm-hmm.
dying. Hippolyta is
Uh-huh.
dying,
Mm-hmm.
and she's walking. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why that took me out so much. I'm like, girl, go. I get dramatic effect, but come on, please pick up the pace. And
Pick it up.
pick it up. And one episode, like I think the last episode where
Mm-hmm.
Dee's arm is hurt and you come out and she has like this metal robot arm.
Mm-hmm.
That also is like why
I feel like because when I watched it the first time, honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I am a lot better at critically picking apart literature than I am at critically picking apart TV shows or like movies. I tend to just watch movies and TV shows and be like, ah, that was good. Like I don't really critically pick them apart. Um, I only do that with other people that critically pick things apart because I do have a couple friends that love to do that. And so when they're around, I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see what you're saying. And now that you say that, and I just finished rewatching it to record because I wanted to talk about it fresh. And so I finished rewatching it this morning. And when it did get to that part, I was kind of like, we could have ended like one scene before then. Like we didn't really need this last scene.
it
I think if
went on?
anything, they could have kept Dee's arm a secret until season 2. I know it's not a guarantee that we're gonna have a season 2, so I understand why they did that. But I think like as an ending image, I was just like, I didn't really need that.
Yeah, like this little girl killing this woman. And we're gonna get into this later, but I actually like Christina's character a lot. I find it
Oh.
very interesting in conjunction with Ruby. I saw
Mm-hmm.
that face. But I think that took me out. Then another like thing that I was just like, all right, I can't. like, okay, was the ghost story house. And like we find out that Christina bought the house, or just
Mm,
gave the money to get the house.
mm-hmm,
And like you have Letty trying to be this pioneer and make up for it. And like, I don't know, I just guess that that's when I just noticed it was just kind of just going down just a little bit of
mm,
like, I mean, it was a good concept of having these ghosts that were murdered by like this doctor. I feel like that has happened before, but I can't articulate it that well. It's just
mm,
like that episode, and like they're around the circle and they're chanting for them to leave. First off, they got that witch doctor, right? And
mm-hmm.
she died.
Yeah, like
She
she
died.
was
What?
thrown about, but and I know that, and that's my thing. I don't like. I feel like if you're gonna have a throwaway character, let your throwaway characters live. Like, why you gotta why you gotta kill off your throwaway characters? Let them be thrown away but alive. You know, like they
Like,
could
why
at
couldn't
least,
she
because
just
like I
get
mean,
knocked?
Letty gets thrown around just as hard. Yeah, but Letty gets thrown around just as hard, and Letty lives, which is obvious because Letty's the main character. I understand Letty has to live because she has to make it to the end, but that's what I'm saying. If you're gonna throw around just as hard as you're gonna throw around your main character, let the throwaway character live. Like she just came here to cast a spell. Like you ain't have to kill her.
You really didn't. And yeah, but honestly, I just thought it was just fun. It was just a really fun show. Um and I didn't expect perfection or for it to be the bee's knees. I just
Mm-hmm,
I came for the ghosts. I came for the black people. I came
mm-hmm,
for a decently written story. I came for the costumes. And like
mm-hmm,
I don't like, yeah, we can nitpick like all day, but at the end of the day, this is just
mm-hmm.
like a step towards like more shows like this. And again, going
Yeah,
back to my
like I
point,
had fun watching it. Like I can't complain too much if I had fun.
yeah, and like it's something, even though this is a movie, not a TV show, but like Antebellum with
Mm-hmm.
Janelle Monáe, I feel like
Yeah.
that was just like more like more like
No, that was terrible.
yeah, I was
It
just like
was a terrible, a terrible movie.
I was, and because like that, again, love the premise, but I feel like with that one it was just so like brutal, like black
And the
trauma,
execution was terrible. They did a
execution
terrible job.
terrible. But I felt like, but with Lovecraft Country, I feel like it came to do what it needed to do, and it
Mm-hmm.
strayed a little bit, and people got really mad because it just like had a little some inconsistencies.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also reading like like an article briefly about, because Jordan Peele was like, it was a producer on this, and they were like knocking him about
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, all the producing projects he's on, it's like not producing great TV and da 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 da. And I'm just like, why are you holding this man to such a high standard? Like, did
And I feel like that goes along with what you were saying earlier, is that he's our one black dude doing horror. And because I mean, they do it to, like, it happens to a lot of our one black person doing that. Like, it happens to Beyonce, it happened to Rihanna, it happened to Nicki, it happened to, like, it always happens to our one black person doing that. And it's just like, well, let's have more black people doing that then. Not to say that we have more people to critique, but but I think, like, yeah, you have every right to say, and I think that's another thing, is that you have every right to say I didn't enjoy this, but does that mean that it was absolutely positively terrible? I feel like those are two different things. I feel like you holding an opinion of I did not enjoy this because, and then there's always the people who say, well, I would have done it that way. Then go and do it. Like I hate a bitch who says I would have done it that way. So go and do it. Like, why aren't you gonna go do it? If you're gonna complain about, well, this is how I would have done it.
yeah, for sure. And yeah, so those were our initial thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
General review. Um So I think we're gonna go by episode.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. First episode, I think that hooked everybody. Strong. You
Yeah.
per when they were in the cabin with the cops, peak.
Oh, yeah. That no, because those cops were so annoying. They really, and it really like spoke to the fact that like you can really tell a white person this is what's occurring and they can be like, no, that's not true, that's not real, because you really saw these monsters with your own two eyes, and the captain was still like, there's no such thing as monsters. So what just bit your arm off? Like your arm is falling off of your body. So what just bit your arm off if it wasn't a monster? I was just, oh my god, those cops were so annoying.
Oh God, I couldn't. What was episode 2 again? It was like when they go to the house and they're trapped in, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. World building. Uncle George dies.
yeah.
I was just kind of like, damn. It
Mm-hmm.
didn't hit that hard for me, but great acting from Atticus. I forgot the actor's name, but
Jonathan
when you see
Majors.
him in the car,
Yeah.
and that I was like, ooh, all right.
I feel like it hit harder on the second watch because I knew everything that was coming. Like
Mhm.
I was watching it and I cried. I was like, wait a minute, what's happening? Um, Also, Letty gets killed and then resurrected, and I love the storyline that comes from that. So that's definitely one of my favorite points of episode 2.
Oh yeah, no. I thank you for reminding me of that. I really forgot she like died. Like
Yeah, and then came back, and oh, and it's such a good storyline too. Like to be like resurrected. I think it's like it reminds me, oh, I can't remember. It's in a book where they're talking about, like Jesus went around and he resurrected all of these people, but none of them were black. Which I mean, like now people are having the conversation of I think everybody in the Bible is black. So now people are having that conversation. So it doesn't really apply now that people are like, well, they were in Jerusalem, so I'm pretty sure a lot of them were probably black. But yeah, it makes me, or at least in America's version or in the Western version of the Bible that we know today, all of them are white in that Bible, and it just made me think of that. Is that she like gets this resurrection story, which is pretty cool.
yeah, definitely. The episode 3, the haunted house one was
Mm-hmm.
Holy Ghost. We talked about
Mm-hmm.
it a little bit. I am a sucker for a good like haunted house ghost story though. I am a sucker.
Honestly, I really loved that episode. It was really one of my favorite. I think it does a good job of calling out to the history of Black people being experimented on. It made me think of the founder of gynecology, who used to experiment on black women and like not give them any anesthesia or anything because it was thought that they didn't experience pain the same way, and that's still like thought of in medical, like that's why we have medical racism today, is because people still don't think that black people feel pain the same way as other people. But that's what it made me think of. I really really like that episode. I thought it was really good.
I think what trips me up now that I'm remembering was that whole they had like the house party, right? And
Mm-hmm.
Atticus got jealous of like this one dude for like
A
messing
tree.
with Letty back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, and she got like in the sex scene in that was kind of looked like a little rough, honestly. And
Mm-hmm.
like, when she was bleeding after, I was just like, okay. It was just one of those moments like, okay, Letty, are you all right though? Like that was something that
Oh, I feel that.
I was like, okay, Atticus, I
I
don't know
thought
why you had to feel like you had to prove a point or something.
well, I don't care about Tree anyway. Tree is annoying and he lied.
True.
But Tree, the guy that Atticus gets jealous
Oh
of.
yeah, true. Yeah.
And then I thought that the blood coming out obviously was because it was her first time. But I also thought because blood is so symbolic in this show that it was also like meant to show us like this is the moment in which Letty gets pregnant with Atticus. baby, and it's like this is the blood passing on. So that's what I thought of, which is why I'm like, I don't know,
Big
like I really
brain.
like
Big
that.
brain.
Like I feel like that's a really good symbol right there.
Yeah. Maybe I'm just I don't want to say I'm sensitive, but like I felt like that was just a little like too rough. It just felt like she wasn't totally into it. And anyway, that's just my thing. And also, I really like
Mhm.
the Easter egg of like the Ouija board. With the later episode of
Yes,
Bobo and like
yes,
them playing with
yes. I liked us being introduced to Bobo right there, and
yeah, that
them
was
using
good.
his nickname, so that it's like, and I think that's just they do such a good job of giving him like, even though he doesn't get a full episode, but like I mean, but essentially he does after death, he does, and it's also Dee's episode, but like I think they do a really good job of like giving that little Easter egg right there, so that it's not just like, because I feel like sometimes we people throw Emmett Till into works and it's always died and it's always like this tragic thing, but we get this little Easter egg of like, oh my god, like this is Emmett Till alive right here, and he has friends and he has family. Because I feel like, I don't know, when I think of Emmett Till, because the only history that I know is that his mother had an open casket, I only think of Emmett Till and his mother. But like to see him like with friends, like that's so crazy. I really loved that.
Yeah, good. Like just a quick tangent. It was just like I feel like Lovecraft Country has a good balance of joy and trauma.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, like all right. Then episode 4, A History of Violence, and this is where Letty confronts Atticus about his plan to surreptitiously return to Florida in
Oh,
search of the
this is
missing
the
king.
Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Oh, that
That episode, Journey to
fantastic,
the Center of the Earth. Yes.
fantastic,
Phenomenal. Phenomenal
phenomenal.
episode.
Yo, the Goonies vibes.
Right. No, it was phenomenal. I said, whoever wrote this episode, all of y'all deserve a pat on the back. Whoever even if you just put a sentence into this episode, pat yourself on the back, because it was phenomenal.
No,
And
like
even like starting off with like the little kid in the library reading A Journey to the Center of the Earth, I was like, y'all gotta stop. Y'all gotta stop.
it was just like the challenges too. When they had to walk on that plank, it was
Mhm.
simple, but like I wouldn't have walked on that plank. I would be like, all right, cuz, see ya.
It's been fun.
It's been fun.
It's nice. And then Montrose had to jump, and then first he threw the bag, and Tick dropped it. After he dropped that bag, I would have been like, "No, sir, I don't know you from Adam, babe. Goodbye."
All right, and oh, I completely forgot that this is one of my main criticisms with the show.
Mhm.
Yahima,
Oh,
Yahima.
it was okay. So, it was a thing that Montrose would have done. Makes sense for his character. Still could have kept it out.
You
Still didn't
could
need
have
it to
brought them.
happen.
You could have brought them back.
Yeah.
Even
Or yeah,
it's a
you could have brought them
supernatural
back.
show.
If you
Bring
think
them
it's a
back.
thing that Montrose is gonna do, you still could have brought them back. Right. Y'all are dealing with magic. And there was never a moment of like they can come back and like help with the language of Adam. Because that was the original plan. Is that y'all were gonna teach them English, and I don't know, like again, throwaway character moment where it's just like y'all don't have to kill your throwaway characters.
And like another thing that I would have liked is that we get the anger, the justified anger Tick had to Montrose, but like could we have gotten like a burial, a little
Yeah,
something something for
yeah. Like where did Yahima's body go? Like what did Montrose do with the body? There was never any, again, like, and even with the witch doctor, we never see where her body goes either. It's kind of just like the episode has ended, the ghosts are gone, and now Letty's being interviewed. Like we get to see where the white boys' bodies go, but we don't get to see where the witch doctor's bodies go. Like I
and
just feel like,
Yahima's. Like come on now. And like can we just talk about the significance of having a two-spirited First Nation person on HBO?
mm-hmm,
Come on. You could have
like
done. You could have done. You could have done a lot.
Right. And I do appreciate in the podcast that they do acknowledge, like, yeah, that was our fault. Like, we shouldn't have done that. Like, that was terrible. So I do like that, that there was an acknowledgement of, like, damn, yeah, like, we'll do better next time. But definitely, like, it's just another moment where, like, your throwaway characters don't have to be killed off. Like, I think something in general that we could do better in writing scripts is that our throwaway characters don't always have to die.
Yeah, definitely. Then episode 5 is Strange Case. After making a devil's bargain with William, Ruby steps into the charmed shoes of a
Um,
white woman. A betrayal by Montrose unleashes Atticus' pent-up rage, leaving Letty deeply disturbed and sending Montrose into the comforting arms of his secret lover. Ruby?
I asked my little sister while we were watching it together, "Would you ever want to be a white woman?" And she was like,
Girl.
I don't know."
I think they depicted it spot on. Like,
Oh yeah, they were. It was very good. I'm a person. I like gore. I won't lie. So I loved watching her come out of, like, the metamorphosis was so fucking cool. And I think for Ruby's character, I think it wasn't so far off that she would want to be a white woman. Like, I wasn't like, yeah, I was like, yeah, Ruby would make this decision, because we already see her in an earlier episode be like, if more people if more black people thought like me, our race would be much farther along. So she's already, like, in this mindset of, if I can just have this, then I could be farther along. So this just becomes, if I can be a white woman, I can be farther along. And so I feel like when it came to her making the decision, I was like, yeah, this
I
makes sense for
also
Ruby.
I would also like to like Letty is lighter skinned than Ruby. And she sees
Yeah.
like Letty doing all this like what's it called? Like groundwork or like activism. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, Ruby is like apprehensive. I'm like, I can't do the things that you do.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think Ruby is per se jealous of Letty because she's lighter skinned, but
No.
she is
But she
like,
sees how she can move through the world differently.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
and
Like,
one
I don't
thing
even think
that,
Letty, or I don't even think Ruby is jealous of white people in general. I think she just sees how they move through the world differently.
yeah, and like, there's this one scene that really just stuck with me where, well, two scenes in particular, where she changed into a white woman. I maybe it was a later episode, and she was on the black side of town, and like people were so concerned and nice to her.
Oh no, that's this episode.
Oh, that's this episode. And
Mm-hmm.
like how she was eating an ice cream in the park, and it was just like kids playing around her and like
Uh-huh.
pixie dust. And I'm just like, and she just took a breath. Like she just exhaled. And I was just like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's the, and like they said, it's the what was the thing that they said? It's being able to move through the world uninterrupted. I really liked that line. I thought that it was such a good line, because it's true. It's like, I feel like that's why I'm like, it's not a surprising choice for Ruby to make, but I'm also not judging her for making that choice in any way, because it's like, Ruby's tired. Like, Ruby is tired of moving through this world the way that she's moving through this world. And even like with the job at the department store, it's like, to see that other girl get hired, and Ruby has been trying for years and for years and for years, and it's just like, oh my god, are you kidding me? Like, but the way that she treats that girl, girl, you gotta get it together. But still, I understand, because like, Ruby is tired.
I feel like to elaborate on how Ruby treated the other black person there as she was when she was like a white woman, like I that just rings. I don't, maybe for like respectability politics, but like, that Ruby's mindset of like, if I was like in
Oh, definitely.
charge of the black race, we would be so much further along. And like, she
Yeah.
sees this person, I forgot the character's name, but she sees this person like chillaxing, not doing her job. And well, not chillaxing, but just not doing her job to the best of her ability. And she was like, no, you got to be better. Like, what are you doing? And like, of course, this clerk, like, coming from a white woman, she's like, what is this white woman saying? But like
Mm-hmm.
seeing that, and like, Ruby has been trying for this job for years, and seeing someone more mediocre than her get it, she was just like, Anyway, so my girl Ruby has been through a lot, but let me talk about William slash Christina real quick. I love their
Mm-hmm.
relationship. I love their relationship. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's 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 so complex and everything, and I'm gonna talk about it when it comes to Dee's episode because that was amazing. So, but our next
Mm-hmm.
episode is Meet Me in Daegu. So this is the Korean War episode with Jiha.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. I liked it.
I liked it too. I know some complaints about this specific episode is that they played into the trope of a complicated mother daughter relationship, which is a common trope when doing like Asian or Asian American relationships where the mother doesn't approve of something. And so I know that people had complaints about that, and I didn't realize that that was even a common trope. So I didn't know until I was told by somebody else to like, oh, well, I'm tired of seeing stuff like that. And I was like, oh, no, that's totally fair. So that has colored the episode a little differently for me, but it is a good episode. I did like it. And I do like that Gia comes back too. I like that she doesn't, like we just see her in that one episode. I do like that she comes back at the end.
I would say like clearly I'm not Asian American, but I feel like the main conflict with Jihad it like that's not her real mother. Like like Jihad's like a full
Yeah, because she's a
kitsune,
Kamiho.
right?
Yeah.
Or a Kimiko. Sorry, that was Japanese and this is Korea. Anyway, um so she feels love to this woman as her mother, but the mom is like, you're not my daughter. Like I'm trying to get
Mm-hmm.
my child back, and like
Mm-hmm.
I found that like dynamic really cool and interesting
Mm-hmm.
in the episode. But like I can see that criticism of like troubled mother daughter relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that I liked, and they talked about this in the podcast of American imperialism,
Mm-hmm.
and like we don't talk about that enough about how America just has a bunch of US military bases across the world, and for what?
Yeah, still to this day. And for what wars are we fighting in these countries? Y'all are weirdos. Like, come home. Like, that's
Like
weird.
we don't
Like,
need
y'all, but then you're in your own home, you'll literally tell the people where you are occupying to go back to their home. How? How are they going to do that when you're still there? But yeah, but half of America doesn't even know that they have this many military bases around the world. So they don't even know that people are just, but why do you think so much money goes into your military? Like, what do you think they're doing with that money? It's a lack of critical thinking. It really is a
but
lack
we're
of.
like but we're not taught to be critical thinkers.
Oh no, not at
We're not
all.
taught to. Um, but educate yourself. But again, people are not taught to be critical thinkers, especially of their government. But that's another story for another time. Um, but yeah, no, I really when like it was so like anxiety inducing for me when her friend got like murdered by the
Right.
officers.
Hmm.
I was just like
Even when she goes to see Atticus on the base and she's like, oh, I'm supposed to meet Atticus for a night on the town. And then the friend is like, plans have changed. And they're walking her through the base. That was anxiety ridden for me. Because it's like, you don't even know, like the last time you saw Atticus, I mean, like, yeah, you've seen him at the hospital, but the last time you saw him, he like shot somebody. Like, you don't know what's about to happen on this military base. So that was anxiety ridden for me, having her walk through there, and then she's like waiting for Atticus, and she's like, "What is going on?"
yeah, and like I also like the addition of the Korean American soldier in
Mm-hmm.
Korea. Just like their perspective on everything when they're sitting outside in the hospital. And in the podcast they were talking about how like people of color has like they were roped into all this shenanigans by the US
Mm-hmm.
military, and it's like a system because like the military offers you education, housing, da da da, and everything that most black people and BIPOC people don't have.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the pipeline where it's just like, oh, we'll offer you education and you get to travel and da da da, but like you can get to commit war crimes. um
Right. And then especially at this time, even he mentions he's like, I was drafted. Like, I don't want to be here. Like, Atticus is the one that came. on a, like, he volunteered. I was drafted, girl. I want to go back. And
Yeah.
then I also like that he mentions that no matter which country he's in, he's gonna be a foreigner. Because I think that, like, especially, I know you're also first generation, me being first generation, like, that's how I feel. Like, no matter where I go, and I mean, even Black people who are descendants of chattel slaves, I know that's how they feel. They're like, you're gonna tell me to go back to Africa, but where? Where am I supposed to go back to Africa? Like, what? Like, does that make any sense to you? Like, oh, I have nowhere to go in Africa because I go there and I am possibly a foreigner and I stay here and I'm like, you treat me like I am a foreigner, but I was born here.
Yeah. No. And I feel like this episode Loki gets a little slept on. I just like the motifs with Gia and Judy Garland, like her going to the cinema
Mm-hmm.
as an escapism. And I just thought it was like beautiful. Like it was just like a nice break, honestly, in the whole thing, just to like go
Mm-hmm.
back and like see what Atticus was like, and just move. And I like seeing different folklore, like Korean folklore.
Mm-hmm.
Cool,
Oh
love it,
yes,
love
I
to see it.
loved seeing the different folklore. It made me. I want to. The way that I want to buy books of different folklore from different areas and just read it all. I loved seeing the different folklore, and I know they talked about the shaman in the podcast, and the costuming in this episode, fucking amazing. I loved it. It was so good.
Yes. All right, we talked about episode 6 for a while, so we're gonna move on. Oh, next one is Hippolyta's episode. I have mixed feelings
That's
about
my
this
favorite
one.
one.
I
You
have mixed feelings.
do? This is my favorite episode. You can go.
I think because I have mommy issues,
Oh.
I did not appreciate Hippolyta being out here while Dee's alone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that she got to go on this experience and find herself, because I do feel like mothers are just expected to be mothers, and
Mm-hmm.
they aren't allowed to be anything else.
Mm-hmm.
However, your child is alone. And like I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad she chose to go back, because she could have been a god. I don't know, essentially. But I'm glad she
Mm-hmm.
decided to go back. And but like going through each of the scenes, like when it turned sci-fi, I was like, okay, no, I'm feeling this. I'm feeling this, but I couldn't help, in the back of my
Mm-hmm.
mind, I just couldn't stop thinking about Dee.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just me. That's just me personally. Of
Yeah,
like,
no.
yeah.
I feel like I am more angry at Ruby, Atticus, Letty, and Montrose when it comes to D, because she was gonna, because I feel like for Hippolyta, she was going on a guy trip. I mean, a guy trip. She wasn't really going on a guy trip, but she was gonna go on this trip, whether or not. And she left them. She left D in their care. And during, and I'm jumping ahead, but during D's episode, like, they're off doing everything but taking care of D. So I'm more upset with them because I'm like, y'all should be like, why is no one worried about where this girl is? Like, her friend just died. Like we just saw all of this funeral procession happening, and y'all are out here doing anything and everything but looking after this girl. I feel like for Hippolyta, I am happy that she did get to go on this and she did get to figure out, like, and then she also got to have that conversation with George where she was like I've shrunk myself even more for you. And then I do like that we get the little callback to her naming the star but not being able to actually say that I named the star because she was a little Black girl. So I love that she gets to actually go play like among the stars. Like, she's like, yeah, like I get to go do this shit. And I thought it was really cool. And then all the different places that she goes, I love seeing the Dahomey warriors fighting Confederate soldiers. I was like, yo,
That I
I
lost my
love
entire mind.
this.
Lost
That
my
was
entire mind.
amazing. And then the last dude at the end, I'm pretty sure that was supposed to be Jefferson Davis because it looked like him. And I was like, and she beheads Jefferson Davis. I was like, stop. That was my favorite part of the episode. Like, her dancing with Josephine Baker. And I don't know who they got to play Josephine Baker. Don't remember the actress's name, but she did a phenomenal job. Loved her as Josephine Baker. But my favorite part of the episode is when she's fighting with the Dahomey warriors and then she beheads Jefferson Davis. That was amazing. I loved that part.
And I also liked how we saw her ingenuity in this episode. Like she was alone, and like throughout the
Mm-hmm.
episode, she was just smart. And
Yeah.
you're
And then she comes back
shocked.
and she's doing all this math. And
Yeah,
she's
and
just like we
like
really
she's
get
so
to see
smart.
like how fucking smart this girl was.
And a warrior. Listen, her training with the warriors, I was just like, listen, she about to kill me,
Mm-hmm.
bro. But yeah,
Right.
yeah. So we love Hippolyta in this house. We stand
Mm-hmm.
Hippolyta. We love the blue hair. Everything about Hippolyta.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then I think yes, episode 8, Dee's episode. Where Diana finds herself in Captain Lancaster's crosshairs when a visitor from his past arrive. Atticus and Letty take a step to protect their future. I thought it was episode 9. Yes.
No, episode 9 is 1920.
Yeah, when they go back in time. All right, so number 8 is Dee's episode,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah. Number 8 is Dia's episode,
Them
yeah.
them
Um
demons.
this was the scariest scariest episode. The nastiest too, because when he put his this is one of your favorite episodes?
Yeah, listen, I was
You said
terrified
this is
the
one of your
entire
favorite?
time, so it was a good ass episode.
No, it was a good episode. I'm never rewatching it. Like I don't need to see it again. Yeah, it was a fantastic episode. I don't want to see those little girls again. No, ma'am. That shit was terrifying. And then when he spit on his hand and that big ass loogie and he put it on her head, I said, why? Why do we have to do this? We couldn't have done like like it had to be that big ass loogie. We couldn't have done a little tutu. Like we had to do a whole like why? That shit was disgusting. No, it was a very good episode though. I literally when I was rewatching it, that will be the last time I will ever rewatch that episode though. I will skip it if I ever rewatch Lovecraft Country. But when I was last rewatching it, I had to close my eyes and my ears when he did the spit and was doing all that. I was like, I'm not watching this again. That shit is gross. And those little girls, I know that whoever played those little girls, I know they had fun. I know they had fun doing that. Like that's
Boopsy and Bopsy?
Is it or is it? I think so.
Yeah, Boopsy and Bopsy.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
What I like if I put on my critical hat or whatever, Black children are not cared for.
Oh, not at all in this shows in this episode.
Not by anyone, and it just shows how we just have to fend for our well, I'm not a child anymore, but it just shows that how Black children just have to fend for themselves. And I felt that when I was younger, of just like, you know, my dad never really talked to me about racism. My mom wasn't really around. My brother didn't really talk to my older brother really didn't talk to me about it, and like I was just being fed all of these images of just like Black girls going missing, Black girls getting brutalized by the police. It was just like, I will never forget that video of a police officer flipping over a child in her desk. No, I will never forget. I saw that
at
when
the
I was
school.
younger.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember when that went viral. Yeah, that
I
shit
will
was
never
ridiculous.
forget that. And I think this episode just shows like she was just running the entire episode and she was just tired. She was just tired. It showed that exhaustion. It showed like how desperate she was, the cries for help. And like when she died, it was just like people were just like, oh, whoa, what? And like, you know, they talked about it in the podcast where it's just like, you know, Black families don't tend to come together unless someone like dies. I know, like I can
Yeah,
speak for my family.
yeah.
Like,
No, and
we
that's
ain't
why I
all
say
coming
I'm
together
very
unless
angry with
someone
them.
dies.
Yeah, and that's why I say I'm very angry with them this episode because all y'all had to do was pay attention. Like all y'all had to do was realize that this girl was hurting. And I mean, I say, I feel like the one person who actually came so close to doing a good job, surprisingly, it was Montrose. I feel like Montrose, when he was with Dee, came through. Like he really did. And it's like, oh, this doesn't erase all your abusive tick. But damn, you really did come through. So I feel like low key, a little bit, there were moments in which Montrose's abuse was very much being erased. And as a child who was abused, I was like, wait a minute, but he's still like, I get why he did it. Cool, we got an explanation, but I feel like that doesn't excuse it though. I feel really bad for him, but we need retribution.
Yeah, and another thing I would like to bring up in this episode, Ruby and Christina.
Oh
Oh my
yes.
god. When
Oh my nigga.
I I feel that what I related to most about Ruby in this episode is just like she couldn't just be around it. She needed to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not
Mm-hmm.
think that is wrong for you to do.
No,
So if your
I think
comfort,
it made me think like,
oh sorry, I
oh
was
no,
just
no, no,
gonna
go for it,
say,
go for it.
yeah, your if your comfort is with your partner, because that is what Christina is with your partner, and
Mm-hmm.
she's just like, and you know, you see how torn up Ruby is about this. It's like, why am I here with like a white person when I'm not there with my people? And Christina's like, you would be there if you wanted to, but you don't. You don't want to be
Mm-hmm.
around that, and that's okay. And it's just
Right,
like,
right.
I just think it was just like that shown radical self care to me. And I know
Yeah,
self
no.
care has been corrupted by like capitalism, but like truly, it just showed like I am thinking about me and how I can stay safe. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just like being with this person makes me feel safe. So that is what I'm going to do. And
Mm-hmm.
that whole conversation Ruby and Christina have in the house, I lived. I lived. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so go ahead.
Oh, what was I gonna say? I really liked it as well, and I no, I agree that it does show radical self care. I just don't like Christina, so it's not that I didn't like that she stepped away, because I think when it comes to Black people, and especially now, like we are constantly being flooded with images of Black people and their deaths through social media, and I think like there is an expectation for, and you know, somebody might crucify me for saying this, there's an expectation for everybody to be an activist, but some people like don't need to be an activist. Like some people
Some
just need
people
to
didn't
go
do the
about their daily
reading.
lives. Right, like some people, it's okay, just go to work, you know, pay your bills, come home, and I hope you make it home safely, but you really don't have to talk on things. Like you can really be quiet, because some people don't know what they're saying, so it's like it's okay, you can be quiet. And so I think people forget, and not to say, because I don't want to, I both don't want to like commodify the idea of being an activist, but I do think that there is work that goes into it. And I think it's work that does work outside of capitalism. And so that's what I'm trying not to commodify it and say that like this is people's jobs, but also, yeah, this is people's jobs. And I think it does do, I think activism does, I think it can work outside of capitalism. I think some activists are there for the money and the money only. But I think if you're doing like actual work and you're there to help people and to like move us outside of the systems that we are currently operating in, then I think like with what Stacey Abrams did in Georgia, Stacey Abrams and so many other people did in Georgia, and like getting people to go out and vote and like pushing that so that people actually have that power. And so I feel like, you know, like we can't, like let's not forget that like people have done the work and have done the reading, and that if you like, not everybody needs to have a voice. Like, does that make sense? Because I think people are trying so hard to like amplify 1,000 voices when we could look at the people who are doing the work. Like, go help like your community kitchen. Like, there's so many community kitchens around the United States that already put together like food and already like help the homeless and or already help the houseless and already do the work. So go help them. Like, see what you can do with them, because I feel like, and that's, I say not everybody needs a voice, and I say that because more in the way that like it's not a social media thing. Like, it's not like you're not giving yourself this platform to make yourself famous for caring about other people. Like, if you care about other people, then go help people do the actual physical work. If you really, and I understand, not saying like you have to go and march and you have to go and do that and you have to go and do that, because obviously some people can't. Like, and I think when we talk about like marches and stuff like that, he can get ableist very quickly. And so I think we have to realize that some people can't do that. But I think also there are people who are doing the work in different ways that is more beneficial than somebody than some of these celebrities that everybody wants to speak up.
See, I was just about to say to you, I feel like social media plays a big role into making people activists. And I'm not
Mm-hmm.
trying to discredit the activism that goes on social media because it was incredibly important. It is incredibly important.
No, it is.
But
Even like when it comes, like
however,
some things are social media heavy and they have to be.
yeah, but however, we see all of the time of just people asking, "Oh, can you speak on this?" Like to just random ask black people, like your friends, like, "Oh, can you speak on this? Can you speak on this?" And I
Yeah.
remember I was in a interracial relationship when George Floyd and Breonna Taylor was happening, and they just
Mm-hmm.
kept asking me to speak on it, and I just got
Like
frustrated.
your
Like I was
partner.
literally on vacation. Like and I felt conflicted.
Yeah.
I felt so that's why I felt a lot with Ruby, because I was just like, okay, should I be in Richmond marching right now? Should I signing petitions, or what should I be doing? And
Yeah.
my partner's family and sometimes my partner would ask oh, did you hear about this? Did you hear about this little update? Did you hear about this little update? I'm like, stop, stop,
Yeah.
please, just stop. So
That also
and
brings me to
yeah.
that brings me to the end of the episode where Christina recreates Emmett Till's murder. And I was just like, girl, Ruby asked you to care. You didn't have to do all this. And you didn't have to do all of this. And I feel like it speaks to the fact that like white people can only care if it's something that's happened to them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I don't know. I get to the end of the episode, I'm just like, okay, Christina, pack it up. Like, pack it up. And then and then it's also like there's such a difference between her recreating it, because one, you can come back to life. You recreating this does nothing for Emmett Till. Emmett Till is still dead. And Ruby is still black in this country. And so it's like, okay, cool, you recreated it. And then at least, and they said this on the podcast and it really made me laugh. They were like, at least you could have, hired black people to do it.
Exactly. I was just about to say. I was just about to
Like
say.
at least you at the least you could have hired black people to do it.
To blow off some steam.
Right. I'm sure they would have loved to kick a white woman's ass. Oh.
Yeah, definitely. Great episode. And
Mm-hmm.
I felt like it went up. It went up in
Mm-hmm.
this. Like Hippolyta's episode. Honestly, I really don't feel like it I feel like it went down in the last two episodes. If I'm being
Mm-hmm.
quite honest, in my opinion, I feel like it went down in the last two episodes.
And
So
that's the 1921
1921.
and then the very end.
Yeah. I already told you my problems with 1921.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I like the time loop. That it was Atticus that saved his father.
Yes, I did love that. And I like that we get more on Montrose. I think it also that one thing I really love about like anything if they do this, but also specifically Lovecraft Country, is a well-rounded character. Gotta love a well-rounded character. So I love that we come back and we see that George like didn't always stand up for Montrose, and then we know that he regrets that when he's older, because those are among one of his last things that he says, is that I didn't stand up for you when I should have, and I didn't stand up for Tick when I should have. And then we also know that even then he like holds Hippolyta back a little bit, so we kind of see George is a little cowardly, and he's always been like this, like just a little cowardly. So I do like that we get also the younger actors that they got to play them. spot on. Like what? What could just like
Shout
what?
outs to the
That was
casting
so cool.
director.
What did you say?
I said shout outs to the casting director.
Right, because spot on. But I do love that we get that backstory. I love that we get to see Tulsa before. It's another thing, like with the Emmett Till thing as well. Like I love that we get to see it before the
Prom night.
tragedy. Right. It was prom night and then cancel the prom. But I do love that we get to see all of that. I think that's all. Those are all my
Yeah.
thoughts on 1921. I don't
19
know how.
that's it. I honestly Letty again, just one more time. Letty could have hurried the fuck up. She could have hurried the fuck up.
Right, that girl could have run. She was in sneakers. She could have done a little too. Let's go, pick it up, high knees.
Like at least, like I don't know, fucking skip. Like I don't know why that brought me out so much. Like it's such an inconsequential detail, but
I guess I understand what they were trying to do with like the image. Like it was a cool image, especially when you see Montrose staring down at her and she's reflected in Montrose. Cool image, but she could have picked it up.
I don't know because like it doesn't seem what a black person would do. Like maybe this sounds funny, but whenever I see something in a horror movie or whatever, and I'm like, yep, that's white people thinking right there. Like it's just the fact.
That's fair because I mean you think about black people like it's a joke among black people. You see someone running, you run and you ask questions later. Like you run and you ask questions later because if you see them running, oh, you bet my ass I'm right behind you.
And it's just like just her being invincible and not being affected by what's going on around her. And you know, it like today, like this year is the 100th year anniversary of the Tulsa massacre. And I don't know about y'all, but like I'm tired of seeing the ruins. I'm tired of seeing,
you know, when I was watching this episode, I was actually thinking about like there were so many Tulsas. Like I understand that this is like the 100th year of Tulsa, and I get that's why people are continuously showing and speaking. And but it's like the fact that there are so many Tulsas, there are so many other places
Durham,
that
Richmond.
Bond, right? Like there are so many of them that have been laid over to create something new. All of these man-made lakes that used to be entire towns. Like y'all really needed a lake that badly.
Central Park was like a place.
Central Park used to be Seneca Village. It's just like there's so many, and so like I just feel like it's becoming a thing where we're talking, and I say we, but I mean white people. White people are talking about Tulsa because it's the anniversary, but y'all could expand this. Like y'all could have more conversations about like why did our ancestors tear down so much shit, and how does that affect black people today that they don't have this wealth? And like,
and how can we help them economically?
It's very much central.
And like, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I was just like, how can we help them economically recover?
Right.
I feel like that should be the main focus of the conversation. I was like, oh no, like yeah, guys, this actually happened. Look at all these murdered black people right here.
Yeah,
no,
and it's
like
the thing of like this actually happened. Like white people love to like discover things. It's like this has always been a thing that happened. Like just because y'all are discovering it doesn't mean that it didn't happen before y'all knew about it. It means y'all weren't educated, and you should continue to educate yourself outside of Tulsa.
Yeah, definitely. 1921. Then the last episode, full circle. My only favorite part of this episode was when they sang Shaboom in the car.
You know, when you brought up the when you interjected with the they do a really good job of doing joy and like sadness. It made me think of that moment, and I was like, I'm gonna bring it up when we get to this episode because they literally could have just had them be solemn during this car ride. Like they know what they're about to go into, and it could have been such a sad car ride, knowing what's about to happen. But when they start singing, I'm like, stop. I love that. So that moment I loved. I really, really did.
And just see how the gang is together singing.
Right.
Thank you. I am in denial. I do not believe Ruby is dead. I think she is in that coma thing, and
Mm-hmm.
she's not dead. Like she's
She's
not.
gonna come back
She's
if they
going
have a
to come
season
back.
two. Mm.
Like I just don't. Why they have to kill Christina? Like I don't think they killed
I
her in
wouldn't
the
be mad
book.
if she did.
I didn't kill her in the book, and like, why did they have to make D do it?
Mm. Kill
I
Christina.
just like
I
maybe
feel like it was
like
supposed to be a thing of like Dee has this newfound power and like look at what she can do with it, but it more just like was just like unnecessary. Like now, I mean, I don't like Christina, and if she would have withered away underneath that rock, I would have no qualms about it. But I think like to end it on that image, it was just like I don't know, like I could have gone without it. I don't think I have any like like I'm like they did such a bad job, but like I definitely could have gone without it because I mean, and I don't want to say that I don't know how to articulate this. I don't want to say that D, because D does get her entire episode, and I don't want to say that D is like a throwaway character. But often when people like use children in TV shows, it's like so bad. Like they're more of a prop than they are um like it's a prop to help the adults learn something than they are an actual character. And I feel like when it came to the end and she killed Christina, it gave me prop vibes. It didn't give me actual character vibes. And I think that's what threw me off. I was like, why would y'all do this?
I think also maybe it's just like the jump too, because like 2 episodes ago she was lying in bed almost dead,
Mm-hmm.
and then she's just angry at her mom, which is like fair, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then like she gets a robot arm, and then all of a sudden she is like Terminator, and I'm like, huh?
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's what
huh?
gave prop vibes. Like it didn't feel like Dee was given, and I understand that her episode is it's 3 episodes away from ending, so I get that, and that's where I was like, I wish that they like. I know that we're not promised a season 2, but even if we're not promised a season 2, I would have been okay with them just not showing that part because I feel like Dee didn't get enough time to actually like process emotions of everything that happened. And even as the episodes were going on, even in episode 9, what we get like 5, 10 minutes of D. Like so it's like we don't even get to really see her processing everything. So yeah, it does feel like a really big jump because we don't really get to see any processing for her happen.
And like also thinking about it, why couldn't they leave D with a family friend or just someone in the neighborhood? They're about to go kill like a badass evil white witch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why is
Mm-hmm.
there a teenager in the car?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just confusion. I was just
No, I get that. I'm conflicted because I really like because I really like the black like monster thing protecting her. That's really the only reason
okay.
I'm
Yeah, that was
conflicted.
cute.
I
That
understand why
was cute.
I'm like, yes, yeah, they definitely could have left her at home. But I don't know, that image of the black monster thing coming out and being like, don't touch my ground. It's just so I really love that.
How do we feel about Tick dying?
Listen, Tick was so annoying. Like he don't get me wrong, I get that he's the main character, but was he? Was he the main character?
Ruby was my main
I just
character.
feel like what let's critically think. Was Tick really the main character, or was he a vessel for the show to move forward? Because he was so annoying. I think what made me the saddest was Montrose saying, "Get up, like let's go, like it's
No,
time
that
to
broke
go."
me.
I don't think Tick's actual death made me sad, but Montrose being like, "Get up," well, you didn't have to do that. Y'all could have kept this scene to yourself. That's what hit the most for me. But his actual death, not to say that like obviously him dying was sad, but what hit me was Montrose being like, "Get up, like let's go."
Yeah, definitely. Um, to be honest with you, I should have rewatched the show, so I kind of don't remember what the whole ritual was. But like,
Oh,
no, they ended up not. So white people can't do magic anymore.
Nope.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Really?
I don't
Do
know how
tell.
I feel
Explain.
about that. I guess like reclaiming power that was never yours. Like I'm reclaiming this
Mm-hmm.
power that my ancestors did, and but like maybe am I a sympathizer? I don't know.
Am I sympathizing?
Like it's you, so no white people ever can do magic again. Like let that like that's a
No.
that's a lot of people that can't do it anymore. So because like it makes me think also if we get a season 2, what would be what would be the conflict?
Like antagonist.
Yeah, what would be Christina
I feel
dead?
like yeah, I feel like, well, I feel like for the people that are still alive, so like Gia still has, is still dealing with the fact that she's a Kamiho. So that's a storyline to explore. I feel like we could, again, I really want D to actually have a processing moment. Like, so I would love to see a D storyline. I would love. So I don't know exactly. I see storylines. I don't know exactly. I mean, I'm not a writer in the room, so as long as the season come out, I don't really care what I don't really care what the conflict is. I see storylines, but I don't know who could be the conflict. But I really like the fact that they ended in like white people can't do magic. Like this is our shit now. Like go
Hmm.
figure out something else.
You'll figure out something. Yeah, I mean, it's just like I guess. And maybe I was just so bitter. Like, listen, I was just like the entire episode. Ruby is not dead. You did not just kill Christina. Why does D have a metal arm? Why is she
Hmm.
killing?
Hmm.
Like those four things, like especially like D killing. I can't go. And Ruby dying. She did not die. I refuse to believe that. Um,
If she comes back, if there is a season 2 and she comes back, I mean, I'm gonna have to give you your props and be like, you're right, she didn't die.
because no, but like okay, just let's think about
Hmm.
it. The mechanics of switching bodies, right? You need to keep the body somewhat alive to be able to take blood and
Yeah,
right. So exactly, like she's
yeah,
not.
because the blood still has to be running through.
Yeah, so she's not dead. But like Christina died, so I don't know if people are gonna go to the basement and like figure. Anyway, they better say my girl would be. Anyway, again, we just talked about it. We're just talking in circles.
I mean, they were able to save Dee from magic that they didn't cast, so I feel like they should be able to save Ruby from magic they didn't cast.
Exactly.
And they got the book of names, so yeah.
But yeah, no, that was the whole episode lineup. Um, predictions for season 2, if we get one. We were kind of talking about it already.
Um, so I'm really terrible at predictions. But again, like storyline wise, I would really love to see like what D is gonna do with this arm in the middle of the 1950s. Like I want to see what's gonna happen with that. I want to know if there's gonna be a time jump. Like, are we going to? Because I think it would be cool to see like George Foreman the second, because we know that he writes his book.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wonder if there's gonna be a time. I mean, we already had like time jump like back to 1921, but I wonder if like the entire second season will be coming from George's time. Because I think that would be cool to explore. And then that wouldn't put. I mean, it would still be like he would be around like what, like 1970. But I feel like robotic arm in the 1970s isn't too crazy as it would be in the 1950s. I definitely want to see what's gonna. I wonder if when D is older, if Hippolyta will go back, or I wonder if she'll be able to find a way to go back and forth and still have all these adventures. But also, I mean, she comes back and like she's smart. Like I wonder. Like, if she stays on like our version of Earth or their version of Earth, like, what can she do on this version of Earth? Like, girl, like, I want to see you be a scientist. I want to see you create some stuff. Like, so I want to see what she can do on our version of Earth. But I also want to see, like, will she go back to Earth 504? And then Gia, I want to see what happens with her. I want to see, is she gonna stay a Kamiko? I want to see more mythology, Korean mythology. Think that would be dope. And I think that's all I got. I don't really have any predictions for Letty. I don't.
Yeah, no, I was just about to say it. Like Letty, Ruby, all up in the air.
Yeah, Letty and Ruby. I don't know. I mean, all we know is that she's pregnant with George. So that's all I got for her. I don't know what she's gonna go do. Oh, and she has the book of names. So maybe she'll be learning magic. I forgot she has that now. She's like the heir to it now. So maybe she'll be learning magic. That'd be dope.
I feel like they just stumbled on the ending just a little bit. Just a little bit. That's all. Predictions for season 2. Ooh, we were supposed to do the character ranking before predictions, but that's okay. We can do the character rankings now.
Yep. Right. All right. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Okay. Oh.
I love.
You like my?
You got to talk about the rankings. How you did it. So tell me what this is.
Okay, so at the top we got We Don't Deserve You. You know, like, you were just so amazing that it's just like, wow, like this was like the greatest character ever written, and we just don't deserve you. And then underneath we got You Weren't Always Great, which is supposed to mirror the You Weren't Always Terrible. You know, it's like, you know, you could have been better, but you weren't terrible, you know? And then we got the feelings character, you know, they're in the middle. Like, you know, I didn't really think about them all too often when they came on the screen. It was like, well, you're here. You weren't always terrible. Again, it's supposed to mirror that you weren't always great. You know, like, you're not the worst character in the world, but, you know, okay. And then the last one, I'd fight you if given the chance. And I would. Don't think that I won't. If I meet you in a back alley and no one is watching, be prepared to fight me. Those are our rankings.
Yeah, no, incredible rankings.
Thank
I love it. All right, and first up, Tick. Out of it screaming.
Yeah, I would say or like you weren't always terrible.
I would
because sometimes you were terrible.
He was pretty homophobic to his dad.
Yeah, like, I get it. Like, okay. And then he was also just like he just wanted to do everything by himself. It's like, but you're not by yourself. Like, I get that you have this isolationist kind of thing. You were an only child and your dad beat you. I get that. But you have to let people in. Like, you can't do everything by yourself.
Yeah, but it was also the
it's not going to get done.
It was also the 1950s and toxic masculinity and all of that, you know?
You're right.
So I'm okay with feelings.
I'm okay with feelings as well.
Feelings character. We gonna fight on this one.
We are, yeah, I know. I saw her face and I was like, we're gonna fight.
I can settle. I can compromise and put her in You Weren't Always Terrible.
Okay, yeah. We can put her there.
If I would have put her You Weren't Always Great, but that's okay. That's okay.
I was just about to ask, where would you put her if we were doing it? Okay. You know, I'd fight her if given the chance, but I can settle for You Weren't Always Terrible.
All right, D. Ooh, this one's interesting. If before episode 10, I would have put her We Don't Deserve You.
Right. Like, if she wasn't thrown away to be a prop, I would have put her in We Don't Deserve You.
You Weren't Always Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
She did throw those rocks at those little girls. So.
Oh yeah.
So
did to go
we weren't always great.
No, alone Dee's episode alone. Like, I really want to put her We Don't Deserve You, but like I can't
Right. No, because these episode alone makes her a better main character than Atticus in all the 10 episodes he was in. Her
Yeah.
episode alone does that.
Um, you weren't always terrible for George Freeman.
Mm,
Because like we see his backstory and we see how
yeah.
he's kind of like a wussy.
Yeah.
So
Okay. No, I feel it. I understand your reasoning.
yeah, okay. We
Hippolyta.
don't deserve you.
Right. Okay, cool. I was like, I hope we agree on this. We don't deserve it. We don't.
I still feel a little tinge, just a little bit about
Mhm.
reasoning about how Montrose, um Atticus and Letty could have been there for D while Hippolyta clearly said she was going away.
Mhm.
Like, okay, I see that. So
Mhm.
for that we put Hippolyta in we don't deserve you. Okay.
Beautiful. Yeah. I feel like I have feelings, or like you weren't always great, because she does come in clutch in the end and goes into the darkness and saves everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, I would put her in you weren't always great. Yeah. Eh.
Letty,
Eh.
is the F for you.
Eh. I think it's the entitlement for me.
uh, I feel like Letty is. I feel like I agree with the end. I feel like my reasoning that I agree with the end is because for her, I feel like does she go through a character arc? Like, does she change as a character by the end? I feel like she doesn't. I feel like she's the same character that she was. I mean, I feel like she does have some realizations, definitely. But she falls in love, and I guess in that's a character arc. And I guess the main character arc is that she goes from traveling all the time and being alone to like wanting to be around other people. But I feel like it's not a strong enough character arc, like compared to like Hippolyta's character arc. Like, it's not a strong enough character arc for me to put her any higher than Air Feelings.
And like you brought up that she was resurrected. I feel like that from my remembering, I feel like that didn't really go anywhere.
Yeah, like I feel like her being resurrected, like at the beginning of episode 3, they did a really good job of exploring it. And I mean, I guess it was supposed to be the pioneering thing. Oh, and I guess at the end of the pioneering episode, she does go from housing all of her artist friends to actually doing what she said she was going to do and housing Black people who needed affordable housing. But again, I just feel like that's not strong enough. I wanted more. Like, for you to be resurrected, I don't know. I feel like you should have a stronger, a stronger need to like do more. I feel like they could have done more with it. Yeah.
Stronger reason to exist, please.
Yeah. Like, girl, you died and came back. Like,
All right.
oh, Honchos.
I mean, yeah, I think you created you weren't always terrible for Montrose.
Right. Like, he wasn't always terrible.
But I'd
I,
fight him.
I would fight him, but he wasn't always terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We don't deserve her.
Ruby. No, we do not. She was great.
Ruby, by the way.
Ruby.
We do not deserve Ruby.
Oh no, not oh. She did what she had to do.
She did what she had to do. All right, so let's go over the tiers. That was quick. We don't deserve you. We have Hippolyta and Ruby. You weren't always great. We have D and Gia. Feeling characters. We have Atticus and Letty. You weren't always terrible. Christina, George, and Montrose. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, amazing.
Right.
10 out of 10. Oh, and feel free to challenge us on the comments in the comment sections. I would love to know your guys, the viewers, y'all's rankings.
Because we didn't have
I know
anybody
y'all
that
have some hot takes.
we would fight. So I would love to see who y'all would fight.
Then, lastly, we're just going to talk about Black fantasy TV shows in general. And we kind of talked about it in the beginning about how Lovecraft Country opens more doors.
Mm-hmm.
And my fear is that since Lovecraft Country didn't knock it out of the park, people are going to be like, um we don't need more shows like this. And I'm like, no, we need more. We need more Black people, more creative people in the writing room to create something that does knock it out of the park, you know? So,
Yeah. And I feel like when it comes to like I feel like when it comes to terms of success, like it's not gonna knock it out of the park for everybody, you know? So I feel like it did a pretty good job. Like, I feel like I understand why people like. I know definitely it could be better, and I do want to see more people get the chance. I agree that I hope that this doesn't, because I remember even when, like, it's always a conversation if something doesn't just be absolutely positively amazing and a Black person's hands have been on it, then it's like, oh, they just don't deserve anything, you know? Like, and it's like, well, no, like, just still give them the resource to give us the resources and allow us to like do other things. But I think like, I don't know, like, not to say I want, well, no, yeah, like, I don't know, let Black people be mediocre. Like, it's okay. Like, it won't kill us. Like, white people get to be mediocre all the time. So like, let Black people make those mistakes, because if they don't make those mistakes and like be able to flesh themselves out in mediocrity, they will never be able to reach excellence. You know, like, if we're never given the chance to be a little mediocre, how are we ever going to be able, like, let people make mistakes and let people be like, okay, I can do this better next time. But but don't have it always be the same people. Give other people a chance as well.
like, we got, like, I don't know, 20 people in Hollywood that we just reuse.
Yeah, like, come on, like, we flesh it out, because it'll always come down to like casting directors will say, well, we just couldn't find somebody that fit the bill, and it's like, well, where are you looking? Like, are you looking at the same people you're always looking at? Because I don't know, like, if you're looking at the same people you're always looking at, then yeah, it's going to be pretty hard to find somebody who fits the bill. But especially like, y'all are making so, like, Hollywood is making so many remakes and so like using nostalgia right now to like kickstart things and stuff. And don't get me wrong, there's some things that have come out that obviously they're relying on nostalgia to get people to watch, that I have watched and I have enjoyed. But it's like, let some new people come into Hollywood so that we can get some new, like, good ideas. Because a lot of the stuff that people are putting out that are original ideas, they're not good. Like, I don't care if it's an original idea, if it's shit. Like, let people come in and like explore. Let people of color come in.
Let us in.
Like, let us in.
Yeah, I definitely just hope. And when I say I want Black people to just come in, and by POC people to come in, it's not just on the screen. It needs to be the hairstylists.
Yes.
It needs to be the writers. It needs to be the
Especially.
directors. Again, the
Mm-hmm.
hairstylists. I am tired. We're gonna talk about this in the YA fantasy one, but I am tired
Mm-hmm.
of seeing atrociously laid lace fronts.
Oh
Dude,
Lord.
can you pay a Black hairstyle? She got you. She got you.
Right. You're right. Right. And it's like, or like having to see like behind the scenes of Black people, and then the only person on set, so they have to do their own hair, or they have to bring their own hairstylist. And it's like, just hire somebody. Like, will it kill y'all to hire somebody that knows how to do a Black person's hair? Will it kill y'all?
Truthfully and honestly. And you know, when I was like making this episode or just conceiving it, just thinking of like Sleepy Hollow and Lovecraft Country are the only like supernatural things that I've seen in Black, from my knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just like, come on, like, come on, like, you know, the passage we
Right.
read earlier in Octavia's Brood, there are just so many stories. There are just
Mm-hmm.
endless amounts of stories and like creativity. And it's just, you can just explore so much. Like, even with Lovecraft Country, we were talking about how Black parents treat Black children, and the Black community how everyone treats Black children.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm glad that conversation got out there. I'm glad of like that radical self-care move that Ruby did. Like I just feel that there is a lot that could be done here. And I implore like writers like, okay, Lovecraft Country again didn't do that amazing, but I feel like it hit home with a lot of people. And if it didn't do that amazing, then invest in another project. Y'all act like you have no money when you do. So like, in and this is capitalism and whatever.
Right.
It's just like um and I'm just sad that there's just a lack of fantasy TV shows because, growing up and hearing that I'm just not into traditionally Black things. And like, what does
Mm-hmm.
that even mean? Okay. Like, I do like A Family Matters and Everybody Hates Chris, but like,
Mm-hmm.
I also, again, like The Goonies and Supernatural and all these other stuff. And I feel like we're slowly getting into like these spaces, like, but like not fast enough. Like in my opinion, not fast enough. So
And I feel like the conversation of like not being like anything fantasy or science fiction, not being a traditionally Black thing is false. like it's very false. Because if you go back in history, like even just like griots who like told stories like the mythology of Africa, like it's very false. One, but then it's also like it's false, but people believe it because in modern day we aren't like there aren't any Black people in these spaces. I mean, obviously there are, but they're not shown, and so it's definitely a thing of like to showcase these Black people because it really like people like representation matters. Like it really does. Like it just shows you, even if it's like not the greatest representation out there, it shows you, oh, somebody who looked like me did it. Somebody who looked like me did it. So let me go do that too. Like that seems cool. Like I would love to do that. And so even if we started off like because I think one conversation that I've had like among like when it comes to like acting is when Black people first started to be able to get into acting like in like the 1920s 1930s, and they had to play in blackface, and people are like, oh, I can't believe, like modern day, like you're judging them from a modern day perspective, you're like, oh, I can't believe that Black people would do blackface, like why would they humiliate themselves like that? And it's like, but they got in there, and so it showed them that other people could do it too, and that they could do it better, and that they could do it without blackface. And so it's like, yeah, we can judge them from a modern day perspective, but also representation matters. And they were that representation for somebody else to be like, wait a minute, I can do that and I can do it better. So
yeah, and
I
like
really do hope Lovecraft Country lets other people be like, damn, I love science fiction. Because I think science fiction is so cool.
literally, and I just think we touched on this briefly, very briefly, but like what is representation to me may not be representation to you. And that is why we need a plethora of Black writers to get
Mm-hmm.
stories that reach across as much people as possible. Because
Right. Because
for,
the Black experience is not a monolith.
yeah, and for
Like
like
what's happened to
centuries,
me hasn't happened to everybody.
and like for centuries, we've gotten the white narrative. We've gotten every possible white perspective
Yeah,
possible.
right.
Possible. So, again, and I would also like to shout out, Star Trek for being very future forward,
Mm-hmm.
going to its word, that whole history of like the first interracial kiss and like a world without racism and poverty, like that is speculative fiction. And I would just like,
Mm-hmm.
I was raised by Trekkies, and I would just like to acknowledge that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, anything else for Black fantasy other than I would just like to see more?
No, that's it.
All right, then this brings us to our recommendations. What are your
Ooh.
recommendations for our dear viewers?
Anything Octavia Butler. Um, I need Octavia Butler's books. I need us to get back into an age of book adaptations into movies, because there's so many books that need to be turned into movies, and we're no longer in like that era where people like to turn books into movies, but I need us to get back there because like I said earlier, this original idea thing that they're trying to do, it's not working. Nobody has good original ideas, or at least the people that you have in Hollywood right now, the original ideas are not working. So either bring new people in or start adapting books, because I need to see Octavia Butler's work on the screen. um Kindred, amazing. Parable series, amazing. Lilith's Brood that you read in the editor's note, fantastic. Anything Octavia Butler is my recommendation.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. I think my recommendation for you all is let me look at my songs. I think I just have a song that I've just been playing on repeat that like
Ooh.
is very nice, very fun to me. Let's go to the library. And it is, hold on. All right. It is Lost and Found by YBN Corday. And it's just like a celebration song. And I'm happy every time I listen to it. So, go listen to that song. Listen to his album, period. Like, what was it? A Lost Boy or Winterdime? Like, fantastic album.
Ooh.
But yeah,
I've never listened, so I am going to after this.
yeah, but that's the end of our podcast. Episode 1, we got in the bag. Yay.
I love this conversation. This was amazing.
This was good. This was good. I'm happy. But yeah, join us for
Mm-hmm.
our next episode, and that is going to be on Cinderella is Dead and YA
Oh,
fantasy. Um, I'm excited. I'm excited for that conversation. I'm
I'm
excited.
very excited for that
We both just
conversation.
finished the book, and we're
Oh my
dying to
god.
talk about it. So, but yeah, everyone have a great rest of your Sunday, and I will see you in a few weeks. All right, bye.